Welcome to Wisdom from the Word. Bible Fellowship Church is a family of believers who want to help others discover and strengthen their relationship with Jesus Christ. And we're praying this message helps you strengthen your walk with Him. Now let's dive in.
My name is Mike Swaine. I'm an elder here at Bible Fellowship Church, and I'm here today to talk to you about wisdom from the Word. I'm a lawyer by trade, been doing that for 56 years, and I've studied the Bible, and I can remember as a younger fella, every time I studied, I was really studying what God wanted us to do, what the Israelites had gone through, and all of that. And it was more about church studying than about practical stuff going on in my life. And then later, as I got to going through about the third time going through Proverbs, it dawned on me that Proverbs is day-to-day living. It's words that you can take and use in what's going on in your lifetime. It's not just stuff that was going on 2,500 years ago. It was written by Solomon, the smartest man in the world, who, when he was made king, God asked him what he wanted from God, and he answered he wanted intelligence, and he got it in spades. The Queen of Sheba actually supposedly gave him, and it says she gave him, so I'm sure it happened, something like 4 tons of gold after she met him and decided he was really the smartest thing she'd ever met. But he wrote this, and he was leaving wisdom on things that he had learned during his lifetime, and a lot of them have to do with things in dealing with what the Lord wants us to do, but a lot of them is just really practical advice. But I really never thought I would find something particularly that affected my practice in law. And then a while back I was reading, and in Proverbs 18, 17 and 18, very interesting, because it says, in a lawsuit, the first to speak seems right, until someone comes forward and cross-examines. Casting the lot settles disputes and keeps strong opponents apart. It's pretty good advice, because there's no saying it, the first liar never has a chance, because the second one can best him. But it's true on cross-examinations too, because when you first hear the other side's argument, it sounds really good. And then when they start cross-examining that person and asking them questions about it, it kind of falls apart. And then I found in Proverbs 25, 8 through 10, it says, Solomon said, do not bring hastily to court. For what will you do in the end if your neighbor puts you to shame? If you take your neighbor to court, you do not betray another's confidence, or the one who hears it may shame you, and the charge against you will stand. Good advice in 2 places there. Number one, you really don't want to be fighting with your neighbor. If you have a dispute, it's better to settle it than to go to court. Nowadays, going to court costs a lot of money. Back then, it could cause you to go to jail. And with neighbors, you certainly want to settle them. I've seen situations where neighbors were fighting over a 5-foot strip of land between their 2 lots, and had 2 different surveyors, each of them swearing that the other was right, and then they end up going to court and spending a whole lot of money to find out that ultimately, when they get to the end of it, they found it was better just to divide that little 5-foot strip down the middle. Let each other, exchange quitclaim deeds to settle it and get it out of the way. And I thought that's interesting that it's in Proverbs, but there was a lot of good stuff in there. Spoil the rod and spare the child, and all that stuff. And then I was reading in Luke 12, 54 through 59. This is when Jesus was talking to the crowd, and he said, when you see a cloud rising in the west, immediately you say, it's going to rain, and it does. And when your south wind blows, you say it's going to be hot, and it is. And he said, hypocrites, you know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and the sky. How is it that you don't know how to interpret this present time? In other words, why can't you see what's going on around you? And then he said, why don't you judge for yourself what is right? As you're going with your adversary to the magistrate. Now, a magistrate was a lower form of judge. It was the first step in getting in there, and they still have magistrates today in certain courts. But it says, well, as you're going with your adversary to the magistrate, try hard to be reconciled on the way. In other words, try to make up, try to fix a thing before you get there. He says, or your adversary may drag you off to the judge. In other words, he may prevail in the magistrate, and then you get to go to the judge. And said, then the judge turn you over to the officer, that's like a bailiff, and the officer throws you into prison. I tell you, you will not get out until you pay the last penny. And what he was saying, he wasn't taking sides. What he was saying is, if you're wrong about something, admit it. Don't keep fighting it. If he's wrong about it, try to make a settlement anyway, because all it is going to cause you grief. Today, if you lose in court, it costs you money. Back in those days, they could actually put you at debtors' prisons, and they could put you in prison until your family or somebody came up with the money to pay it off. But there's all kinds of things in God's Word that really is good for everyday living. And it's not some of the stuff you think about. But when you practice law, you see these situations where people get so mad at each other that brothers turn against brothers and neighbors against neighbors, and they come and want to fight about it. And all it does is cost them money. And he's saying, make up, agree to what you can do, and get on with your life. That's some of the wisdom from the Word. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for joining us for Wisdom in the Word. If you're looking for additional resources to help strengthen your walk with Jesus Christ, visit bfcsebring.com or download our mobile app.